Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I am your host, Mark Hill, and we have a guest host with us today. Since my shotgun guy, he is out of town with his family, so I would like to welcome you. I'd like to welcome the host to the show, our guest host today. He is the Atlanta Falcons coach, Dean Chambers. How you doing, Dean?
Good. How are you? Glad to be here.
Doing great. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right on into the games for this week. So we're going to start out, and actually what Dean's going to do, he's going to give his take on all the games for this week. So starting out with the first game on the docket from last week, it was Green Bay hosting Detroit, and Green Bay took the game 25-14. What is your take on that? How do you think how the game played out?
Okay, I believe I bet on Detroit in this game, but I watched the game, and the one thing I will say about this is the new coach for Green Bay should definitely not be underestimated. I noticed he put together a pretty effective offense using a lot of those spider and cobra plays and so on, and it worked. It worked well against Detroit's defense. He had a pretty solid defense himself, and he got a good win in this game.
Yes, Coach Steinbach. Yes, I was definitely surprised watching that go through. I know. I think I also had picked Detroit to win that game as well. So I think usually the first couple of weeks, like I said on week one, everyone's going to be trying to feeling each other out. So definitely he is starting to get his legs under him. This could be the first step. So. I think the league needs to watch out because if he does it again next week, we're going to have to be we're on notice. So
yeah, totally agree with that.
Definitely. So next game on the docket was New York playing at San Francisco, and San Francisco. I don't know, something's going on there with the commish. She ended up losing that game 31-14. What did you see in that game?
The most obvious thing I saw is that Sean went back to starting Daniel Jones at quarterback, which was a good move. And that's an interesting thing because if you look at the skill ratings of Daniel Jones versus Drew Lock, you think Drew Lock is the better guy. He's 92, 84 and whatnot. But Daniel Jones just seemed to be one of those guys that plays better than his skill ratings. And in addition to that, Sean put together a pretty solid defense and got the offense going again, and he got a good win. 31-14 is a good win anytime.
Yeah, definitely. So with him going with Jones, and if you look at his stats, I have to agree with you on that. I mean, the stats are pretty much even across the board between him and Drew Lock. I think I don't know. I mean, the discipline on Drew Lock was a couple points higher. So there's no,
but that doesn't seem to be as much of a handicap for Daniel Jones as you'd expect.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So I think he's made that change, and that change may end up sticking. You look at also another thing you look at too is the time of possession. I think I've mentioned on several shows, time of possession. To me, I'm a big stickler on that. They held the ball for 35 minutes versus San Francisco holding it for 24. So I think that, and I've said it before, the best way you beat a team is you keep that offense on the bench. That offense is on the bench, can't win a game. And as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you should be all right. You just don't turn the ball over, fumbles or interceptions. So definitely they're making some changes. We'll see how it plans out, as the season goes ahead.
And three running backs contribute to the running game. That definitely helps.
Yes, definitely too. Yep, they got to be able, and the offensive line doing their job as well. So definitely. Next game, Chicago at Anaheim. I think everyone picked Chicago to win this game, and they did not disappoint. Sam Darnold ended up being player of the game as they won that game 31-6.
Right, and I think I picked Chicago too, if I remember right. And when I watched this game, anytime you watch someone play Chicago with the Jets, you think, how long are they going to play tough? How long are they going to keep it close? And in this game, Anaheim was keeping it close fairly early on. And then there was that point where they just couldn't keep up with Chicago anymore. And then it was, Chicago just opened up a lead and didn't look back.
Right, kind of like starting out, and then all of a sudden they just found that other gear and just downshifted and said, "Okay, we're out of here." So, time of possession was pretty close. I think also too the two interceptions, that plays a factor to it as well. You can't have those turnovers. You just can't. And if you're just coming out there and you're going against Chicago, you definitely can't have it there. Darnold threw one interception, but compared to what Dobbs, you can't turn the ball over.
Yeah, they were both like Dobbs, my former starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Which I ended up letting him go because his low hands, he led the league in fumbles one season, so that, you just can't have that.
Yeah, and he had a second chance, and it didn't really work out the way that Anaheim had that plan. So that's not. I think they still have some more work to do. So, but again, Haskins got hurt too. So, that's. I think it may be time to bring in Willis and put Willis in that number 2 slot. So see how the young rookie goes. Probably a good idea. Yep. So next game, Washington hosted New Orleans, and New Orleans dropped the ball on this one as Washington took the game 38-27.
Yeah, I just see this as pretty solid effort on both sides of the ball by Jerry's Redskins. I mean, yeah, they gave up 27 points, but they played a pretty good team. And I think most of us probably still think of Jerry's team as being the favorite for winning the NFC East. And he is undefeated right now, I believe. And this game certainly doesn't contradict that.
No. Coach Perez definitely put up a good fight this week. Just came up a little bit short, but in the big scheme of things, the first loss that they've had of the season. Right now, they are, again, I agree with you. Washington is, I can't get it right now. The standings, Washington is 3-0 right now. So that was New Orleans' first loss. But yeah, I would definitely say it was a pretty evenly matched game. Almost equal time possession. Definitely the quarterbacks was putting the yards out and the touchdown. So tough loss, but I think they still have a lot to prove this season. I think they will definitely do well as the season goes along. So next game. Atlanta taking on New England, and I knew that New England was going to show up. They fell a little bit short, just a touch short as the game was 35-23. But I knew that there was no way that Coach Moskin was gonna just keep rolling over. So he's getting himself back together now. So what did you think?
Well, the one thing I have to say in commenting on this is that this game for me was coming the week after the game against the Jets, which was a very disappointing loss in a game that I thought I had a good chance at.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you lose 44-20, it's not a close game, but, you look into it and there's reasons why. That can be kind of demoralizing. Although, as disappointed as I was in that game, I knew it was nowhere near as bad as losing 49-0 to the Bengals. We know who did that.
Yeah.
but I also knew that I had to focus on playing New England. And I think what happened here is it's either my offense was starting to look pretty good in this game.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the ball, I think my defense was a little soft at times, but I think he put some effort on definitely improving his offense over what his offense had done the first 2 weeks, and I think that showed as well.
Yeah, I watched this one all the way through as well. I did notice that he definitely put up some rushing yards, 146 yards on the ground. What was, so definitely he found some holes in your defense. You kind of had him on the passing yards. He only put up 181 to your 281, so 100 yards difference there, but he was definitely running the ball on you pretty good. So I think it's tough loss for him, but I think he's going to take from this loss and probably learn from it and continue to move forward. So, again, my big sticklers, time of possession. Looking at the time of possession, he should have taken it because he's held the ball a lot longer, but definitely, it just wasn't meant to be. But, he's getting.
That's where the ability of my offense to score pretty quickly, and I think that's why it's somewhat contributed to the defense playing too long. Mm-hmm. When you score quickly and your defense comes back out in the field, they're still not quite rested up. But that's kind of the flip side of, the first 2 touchdowns that my offense scored were on some of the new plays that I created this season, and they're like 30 and 40-something yard touchdown passes.
Yep.
But that's also very quick when you do that, and it's great to get the quick score on the touchdown, but then your defense has to come back and play the other 2 offense immediately. So yes, time of possession is very important, but there are times when you can be at 24, 25 minutes time of possession if you're making effective use of that time of possession by scoring. In this case, my offense was able to do that, scoring 5 touchdowns.
Yep, definitely. So, close game, not a close game, tough loss, but I think this is something that New England can pick up and learn a little bit more, going forward. Next game, much closer than I think a lot of people thought. I think the line was like 17 points, but you had New York, the Jets, hosting Jacksonville, and the Jets eked this one out 38-35.
Yeah, this was almost an upset. I mean, Jacksonville played the Jets very tough. It's almost like it was a bit of a letdown for the Jets after the big win the previous week. I'm not sure if that's really the case, but it kind of looks that way. But Jacksonville really surprised a lot of us in how tough they played the Jets.
Oh, yes, I do agree on that one. I think a lot of people did not think that was going to happen. A lot of people were surprised. I watched it and I'm like, whoa, this is I'd say it's an upset because it was like a 3-point. They lost by 3, but hell, it was. We thought it was going to be a much bigger gap between the two.
Right.
So, next game, excuse me. Next game, Denver hosting Minnesota, and Denver taking that game by 10, 31-21.
I think I picked Minnesota. I think I picked Minnesota to win this one, but the Denver game plans and profiles are for real. They're tough.
Oh yeah, definitely. And for an open, that's our open team.
Right.
I can't remember. I think who is doing I think Jerry might be doing the setups for that, but he's definitely yeah. So
he sent me email saying something about and he's done this a few times in the past. Like here are the game plans that are gonna kick all your butts, and people laugh at that. But this stuff is tough.
Oh yeah,
it's very
definitely. So that's you got to watch out for that one. I'm not going to say anything else about that. So we have Oakland playing at Indy, and a very low scoring game, but Oakland took this one 14-7. Now is your chance to get on him. How do you think this game played out?
Well, obviously Oakland's defense was very good, but when I watched the game, my question again was, to what degree is Indianapolis going to play tough and stay close in this game? And that did happen, and it took a late score near the end of the game, if I remember right, for Oakland to win this game. So I think, I think Mitch definitely needs to work on his offense. It definitely needs some work.
Yes, I think so also too. Love only put up 63 yards. They got to get better at that. There's nothing else you can say on that. I'm trying to find something to say, but that's definitely
14 attempts. Just 14 attempts.
Yeah, but still.
times.
Still, I don't know. Let's see. He 32 rushes, 14. Yeah. Uh, it's one of those games where you look at you like, yeah, I'm speechless. There's just nothing that can be said. So we're gonna move on from that. Next game. Seattle hosting LA in the home and home series, and my Hawks took the game 30-24. I'm gonna let you talk on it, then I'm gonna have a little extra to say on that. So, what'd you think?
Well, that was kind of the same thing. I was curious as to how to what degree you would play the Chargers tough and keep up. And if I remember, you got off to a pretty good lead early on, and the Chargers kind of staged a bit of a comeback, and he scored, you answered, and he scored, you answered, and held on for the win. And it was definitely a solid effort by your team.
Yeah, I think, well, the first time that we played the previous week, everyone was, everybody, well, I ain't gonna say everybody. Mitch was ribbing me on the fact that I ran and I was playing like the old Nebraska Cornhuskers and just ground pound. So I wanted to try to mix it up a little bit, and I happened to mix it up by doing more in the passing. I wasn't too thrilled on the defensive side, giving them 24 points. So that's an area where I definitely have to work on. I am pleased with the passing game. I think that what he was trying to do. I think when they saw the previous week, I think Steve tried to say, okay, I'm gonna try and stop the run. But then I flipped it and said, okay, I'm going to try and go to the air. So I'm still trying to work out some things on the offensive side, but definitely need to do a lot of work on the defensive side. So a lot of work to do on that, but it was a good win. And feeling.
Have to work on the defense on both our respective teams. Now, I'll point out, as you may remember, Zach Wilson and Justin Fields were drafted in the same draft in the first round and started as a rookie. So, there's probably some comparison to how they're doing at this point in their careers in the PNFL, respectively.
Right.
And I think each week they're both looking better, and both. I think at some point the two of them are going to be viewed as two of the best starting quarterbacks in the league.
That's the idea. That's the plan. So just trying to keep moving forward and keep trying to get to that next level. So that's what we are definitely looking to achieve. So as we wrap that up, people, that was the games from week 3 as we move on. Going on to our next topic, since I have my guest host here, what I wanted to do on this episode is talk to Dean a little bit about his history in the playing football pro, a little bit of the beginnings of it when he started out, his thoughts on the game, and also playing in the PNFL. So as we head into that, so when did you start playing? What got you involved in it? What attracted you to the game? And if you can just go ahead and talk on that a little bit.
Okay, it was in the winter of 1994, and I think it was like fall in '93. I had gone to one of those computer game stores, and I bought the original version of Football Pro, installed it on my computer, played it a little, and didn't really get much into it, and just kind of put it on the shelf. And then in the winter of '94, I somehow, some of you may remember the online service CompuServe that was kind of popular even before AOL was popular.
Yep.
And there was a forum in there called the Sports Simulations Forum, and there were leagues there using Football Pro, and that was the original 94 and then into the 95 version. And there were 2 leagues called the CSFL, which Mitch is familiar with, and the FNFL. And I joined each of them, had a team in each of them. That's kind of how I got started. And this was in the early days. It was pretty much like, Wild Wild West, wide open. Anything that you could design in the play editor, you could deploy and use. And of course, I was very inexperienced at designing plays at that point. Had no notion of creating plays that would, be AI busters or any of that. And some of that stuff was happening with some of the better coaches. And that's where the first rules against AI busting plays were developed and implemented in those leagues, and then then it just grew. It just took off. There was one point where there were dozens and dozens of leagues. There were more leagues than people were even aware of, and it moved from CompuServe over to the internet itself, and there were just all kinds of leagues. And I think I had retired from playing this game around 2002, maybe it was early 2003.
About the same time I kind of took a break. Yep.
Yeah, and that break lasted until, now I know it has nothing to do with coaching in this game, but it happened to me, and that's why I remember it. September 11th of 2011.
Right.
So, and I started thinking that day, and I don't know whether I was watching a football game on TV, I probably was, and I started thinking about, I miss the days when I used to design plays in Football Pro and be involved in leagues. And I wonder if there's any of that even going on anymore. So I Googled it and I found the PNFL and immediately joined.
Okay.
So, that was over 11 years ago this fall. So that's how I got back into it again. And I initially joined and took New England, and 2 weeks had already been played. And James had joined in, I think he was Oakland back then. I don't remember him from previous leagues, but he had joined just before me. So I don't know whether it was just because we both joined at the same time that we kind of sort of, for who knows what reason, became rivals. I don't know why we would have, but that somehow happened.
Okay.
And then I moved the team to Washington for my second season, played a number of seasons. And then there was, and Jerry was coaching Detroit, but Jerry is also in real life a Redskins fan, so he wanted to switch teams and get that team. And so we did a switch where we kind of traded teams, and I inherited his roster and moved it to Atlanta, and he inherited my roster and rebuilt it. And that's been the team he's been coaching ever since.
Okay, so you basically had something good, and then you just said, "Yeah, here's my dumpster fire. Put that fire and fix it up."
Well, the big mistake I made then as general manager, which I'll never make again, is anyone that even thinks this, don't do it doesn't work. I traded for a number of veteran players, saying, "Oh, I got to beef up the roster and make a run at winning a lot of games and going to the playoffs."
Right.
I mean, that's not the way to do it. You want to manage and have an effective roster season after season after season, and just continue to get better at the game plans and profiles every season. But anyway, I made that mistake back then, and in making that mistake, I ended up having a team where a lot of those guys retired, and it kind of decimated my roster. And Jerry made the offer, well, I'll be willing to trade you my team if you give me your team. So what he was getting was the fact that his team was going to be the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And I was about a roster. And okay, well, maybe it's time for change. So in that case, I took over his team, and I did make some trades and moves. I didn't just simply inherit the roster and keep it, but I made some trades and moves that I thought definitely didn't diminish the roster, and I didn't make that same mistake of trading for a bunch of veteran players. I actually traded for some draft picks and drafted some really good rookies that season.
Okay, so yeah, you learn from being at, just like in a real league. You learned that for our first coaching job didn't really work out the way you wanted, or you're switching stuff around and you're figuring, okay, I made these mistakes over here, I'm not going to redo it again. And the veteran players are good for winning right now, but then you want to plan that long term going down the road.
Right, and I came up with a basic GM plan that I'm still following to this day, where the idea is to not have these cycles of like improving the roster to the degree that, and then having a lot of retirements and rebuilding, to consistently keep. It's more a matter of trying to reload the roster, the rebuilding. So it's trying to keep the talent level pretty consistent year to year over time. And one of the things that I emphasize in doing that is the players that I keep long term, I generally try to sign them to 2-year contracts, because it costs 4 points to sign 2 years, but it costs 2.5 points to sign them to the 1-year contracts. If you get into the cycle where you're every year signing a bunch of players to 1-year contracts because you can't afford the points to sign the 2-year contracts. It's not efficient spending of your points, and it's not effective. So that's one of the things I've been, as part of my GM plan, is every year you'll notice when you look at my contract restructurings, I'm mostly I'll sign a few 1-year contracts with someone that obviously either hasn't passed their physical in our current system or expect that they're not going to. But generally, the players that I'm keeping long term, they get 2-year deals.
Right. Okay.
That's one of the things that I've emphasized in the GM role, is sort of maintaining my roster and trying to keep the talent level pretty consistently and trying to improve it a little here and there. Now, as you notice, the way that the rookies are being created is kind of bringing about a transition as to what our rosters are going to look like in the future. And that's something that, I'll be adjusting to, with this latest big trade that I made with James. I traded all of my draft picks for him for the last draft we did and the next one. And then after that, I'm going to make an effort to really not trade draft picks and start bringing in some younger players to gradually start reloading the roster so I don't get too overloaded with veteran players.
Right, so you don't get hit too hard. So, but yeah, definitely. We could go on and on and on and on about this because it's definitely a good wealth of information out there. Definitely, we need to do another. I'd like to do another show where we can just go and just stretch that out even further. I think the last couple of shows we've talked about the back end stuff, the plays, the profiles, having to make the plays and the game plan stuff. And this is another exciting aspect. I wish I could go on for about another hour, but we can't. So, but I definitely like this part, and definitely I want to get you back on to that. So, I hate to cut. Do it now.
In those, there's definitely a lot to talk about as far as the GM role.
Yes.
Game plan profiles and designing plays. I mean, every one of those aspects there's a lot to talk about.
Oh yes, there definitely is, and I think that by going that route, it can kind of make the game better. And I'm seeing that the coaches can definitely help. I mean, the veteran coaches such as yourself and Mitch and Charlie, you guys know, but the new coaches come in. This is a wealth of information. That's what I kind of like about this, by bringing you guys in and just bringing all that information into getting that all knowledge together. So, but we're going to table this for right now. I am definitely going to get you back on the show soon so we can go ahead and discuss that a little bit further. I hate to cut it off, but we got to move into the next week's games. So if we can change gears real quick, let's look at the games, and I want to get your opinion on the games coming up for this week, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. So going into week 4, we have the Saints. They're looking at a 4.5 points over the Lions. What do you agree with that? What do you think you're going to see in this game?
Yeah, I actually do agree with that. I know early on I've been thinking, that I shouldn't pick against Detroit, but I think the Saints will rebound after the loss last week, and I think they'll win. And I do actually think they'll cover the spread. They'll probably win by like 6 or 7 points, maybe 8 or 10, but I think they'll definitely cover that 4.5 point spread and win this game.
Ooh, okay. I have to agree with you on that one. I want to try to go for the Lions, but I have to agree with you. I think the Saints are going to take this one. I think that 4.5 is going to be too low. I got to agree with you. I'm thinking maybe 6.5 for the Saints on this game. So moving on to the next game, Redskins at the Vikings. Redskins 6.5. What do you think on that?
Well, the last time these two teams played, believe it or not, was 2038. That was the year in which Jerry's Redskins went 12-4, but they lost early in the season 20-13 to Minnesota. Now, if I have my information right, I believe Minnesota's coming off 2 straight losses to Denver, and you would think that they would rebound, but I don't see that Jerry is going to let that happen. So I think the Redskins are going to actually win and cover the spread on this game.
I have to agree with you on that one. I definitely think that Jerry's going to win this one. I think the spread is fair enough at 6.5. Right now, I definitely, Minnesota's sitting at 1-2. They are definitely struggling, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. So I think the losing streak is going to continue, and they're going to drop this one as well. Next game, Chargers against your Falcons. I will start off on this one. As I look at both of them, both the teams, I don't understand how the Chargers are. They're giving them 6.5, especially after the last 2 weeks. I think that Atlanta's playing some good ball. You got your second win under you, and there are, like I said, LA is on a 2-game losing streak. I think that losing streak is going to continue. I call for the Falcons to win this game probably by. I'll give you guys 6.5 over them.
This is an important game for both teams, I think, and I think it's a kind of juncture in the season with both teams where win or loss kind of gives you an idea of how the season is going to go. Now, last year is the Kansas City Chiefs. I lost both games to Steve's Chargers. Mm-hmm. I still remember the 2038 season. I played a game against them as Kansas City, and my team was up 25-10. The first time we played you, we played twice because we're in the same division. Mm-hmm. My team was up 25-10, and then in the second half, my team fell apart and ended up losing the game 26-25, including a situation where I believe my offense went for it on 4th and short rather than kicking a field goal. And at the end of the game, if I just kicked that field goal, I would have won that game 28-26. So that's something I've always thought of every time I play him. And I'm confident that I'm prepared for the game this week. I've actually watched 2 practice games earlier today and working on game plans and profiles. But, we'll see. I picked myself to win in submitting my picks to Rich. I'm confident, but there is that degree to which, as I say, on any given Sunday, and we see that in our game, sometimes the game doesn't go as we expect, so things can happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I still say I think the Falcons are going to take this one. I think Chargers are definitely in a little tailspin right now, and I don't think they're going to come out of it this weekend. Sorry. Next game, Jaguars and the Giants. They are giving the Jaguars 3.5 points over the Giants. Your take?
I think the Giants are going to win this. I think they're going to continue to play solid defense and solid offense and probably stick with Daniel Jones at quarterback. And, Jacksonville played the Jets tough last week, and it would be easy to say, oh, well, they'll play the Giants tough, and, the Jets are a much better team than the Giants, therefore Jacksonville wins, and that's probably why it's 3.5 points. But I just think the Giants are going to pull it out and win. And the last time they played, the Giants won 24-3 over Jacksonville. Oh, no. Yeah.
Well, I think Jacksonville's going to win this game. I underestimated them last season, and I think that if the Giants underestimate them, they're definitely going to be surprised by them. I think the 3.5 is a good spread for them. I think that their 1-game losing streak is going to be short, but they definitely have to be able to put up some points. And, again, keep the Giants on the bench. So I would definitely give it to the Jaguars with a 3.5 point spread against a fair set.
Point. Most sort of teams, if you underestimate them, can beat you.
Oh, yes.
No team on your schedule should be underestimated at any time.
Well, you saw the Broncos win, so that's an example right there. Don't underestimate. Don't overlook anybody, because you will definitely find yourself being surprised. So,
That's right.
Yep. Next game, Cardinals and the Colts. Now, the Colts are undefeated, but there's a 21-point spread saying for the Cardinals to take over or to beat the Colts. Your take?
Yeah, I think the spread is reasonable. Believe it or not, even that's pretty large. And I think Indianapolis will make a strong effort, but I think they'll just be outmatched. I think the Cardinals will win and cover that spread. Believe it or not.
I have to agree with you on that one as well. I think Justin's definitely going to keep moving forward and powering through their games. I definitely I definitely believe that this is going to be another win for him, and I think the spread's fair. So
I think Justin's motivated because the of losing the Super Bowl to the Jets as badly as he did. So I think he's motivated to get back there and prove that he can win it again.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely. I think this season's probably going to be his statement season, the typical take no prisoner, and I'm out here to prove a point and just keep marching forward. So. The next two games that we have on our docket are going to be pick'em games, so they're just wide open. First one is the Packers at the 49ers, so it's even. So what is your opinion on that?
Well, Green Bay was coached by Wolf last season, who retired, and he went 1-1 against San Francisco last year. But we have a new coach in Green Bay, who, like I said, who should not be underestimated. I think Green Bay will win this.
I have to agree with you on that. I believe that Green Bay will win it. San Francisco and Charlie, they have not won yet this season. I'm sorry to say, I think it's going to be another week without winning, and I give this one to the Packers as well. I do believe that Coach Sandbach is definitely making some inroads, and I think he's going to continue that this week as well against the 49ers. Next game is the Rams and the Patriots. That's another pick'em game. What do you see happening in this game?
Well, it's clear that someone has to win this game, and I think New England would be that team. I think they'll continue to improve on offense as they showed some promise on offense against my team last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll just be the stronger of the two teams versus Anaheim, and they are playing at home, which does help. So I see New England winning this game.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. I think this is the one where Steven's going to go ahead and say, you know what, okay, I'm tired of playing games. Let me go ahead and knuckle down real big, and I think he's going to end up winning this one. It's a pick'em game, but I think I'm going to give it to the Patriots. I give them 7.5 that they're going to take this by. So that's my guess on that. Next game is the Raiders coming over to the Seahawks. I have a little extra on that, but I'm really curious about what you think is going to happen on this one.
Well, I looked at the games last season, and Oakland won 9-3, and then the other game was 27-20. So they're both fairly close games, especially that 9-3 that was low scoring.
Yeah, that was the one where it was basically field goals, and I happened to eke that one out, and definitely that one opened up Mitch's eyes and says, "Oh, what the heck is going on in the Pacific Northwest?"
Right. I think the key here will be that I think Oakland will continue to struggle on offense, and I think part of the problem there is that Mitch is not getting very effective quarterback play from Baker Mayfield. He has pretty good skill ratings, but I don't think he plays up to those ratings.
Interesting.
Oakland's running game is very good, but they can't, as you noticed, they can't be one-dimensional. I mean, if his passing attack isn't viable, isn't a viable threat, then you could put more effort on stopping his running game. But if I were playing against him, I'd still play a good balanced defense, try to contain the running and try to contain the passing, and I think that's very possible. And I see Seattle winning this game. It would be fairly close, but I see Seattle winning this game.
All right, you don't have to kiss up to the host. It's okay,
You know,
but
that's,
I'll take it. I'll take it. I think this was
I would just tell you, but
well.
that's what I.
Yeah, I think when Mitch and I played, it started last season. When I was able to finally turn the corner and the game started to change for me a little bit as far as how things go in the league. Our games have been fairly close. I think the two we played last season were close. I think the one this season, the first one was close as well. There's a couple things that I know that I have to work on and try to counter from Mitch. So definitely, I'm trying to go for the split this season, and I'm definitely looking at the Seahawks taking this one. I think it'll probably be. I would give it 7 points. I think it's going to be a 7 point game for me to take this one from Mitch, and then we'll have a split for the season. So,
Well, you know that I'm pretty much the Jerry Glanville of the PNFL, so you know that anytime commenting on these games, that I'm going to keep it real.
oh yes, definitely, definitely. So, and that's what we like. That's what we like. That's why I have you here this week to give me your unbiased or your unvarnished. Let me say that your unvarnished opinion on it. So, definitely.
Right.
Last game for week 4 is going to be the Jets and the Broncos. They are giving the Jets 14.5 over the Broncos.
Real easy. I think the spread is too large. I think as good as the Jets are, those Denver game plans are really solid. I think the Jets are going to win the game, but they're not going to cover that spread. I think Denver will keep it close, but fall short.
So if the 14.5 isn't the spread that you're looking for, what are you looking for as far as the spread?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win by like 10 points, maybe
Oh,
8, maybe 7. Somewhere between 7 and 10 is what I see the
I
Jets win.
okay. I was looking at around 10.5. So looking at going with the Jets for 10.5 to win this game. So
So we
definitely.
both agree the Jets are going to win but not cover this.
Yeah, they're not going to cover the spread. No, I don't think so.
I mean,
Not.
that's over touchdowns. That's like 2 touchdowns and a field goal to cover that spread, or at least 15, obviously.
Yeah,
So I think that spread is a little bit too large.
yeah, I agree with you on that one. So definitely. So as we are coming to wrap up this week's show, I definitely want to thank the guest host Dean Chambers. I hope you had a good time on the show this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we talked about pre-show, just coming in and having a good time. I think we could have easily taken this over an hour, just talking, especially getting your background history, and definitely on another show, I want to do another deep dive into that. So, if you are willing to come back on, we will definitely get that booked and get you back in on the show next time.
I look forward to doing that.
Okay, definitely.
I look
And
forward to doing
great, great. And since our guy is not here, I will have to take his tagline for this week's show. Let's get after it.